Have you ever stopped and thought about just how prepared your organization actually is for if a major cyber attack were to happen?
Right.
I mean, not just the tech side of things, but the actual fallout that would happen for your business as a whole.
Yeah,
That's what we're going to be diving into today.
absolutely.
It's all about cyber resilience,
Hmm.
and we're going to explore a specific certification called the CCRP, which is designed to help organizations not just survive these attacks,
Right.
but bounce back even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Our main guide for this deep dive is going to be an article by Irina Livchenko.
Okay.
She's a business development manager over at Star Trainer,
Gotcha.
and she really emphasizes the link between cybersecurity and business continuity.
Yeah, that link is often the missing piece, for a lot of companies.
Really?
It's like they build this fortress but have no plan for what happens if someone actually gets inside.
Oh, okay. So let's break down this gap between cybersecurity and business continuity then.
Okay.
What are the real-world consequences when organizations just don't connect these two?
Well, what's fascinating is that you see a lot of companies pour tons of resources into prevention,
Yeah.
like your firewalls and your antivirus and all that, but they don't really plan for what happens after a breach.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like having a top-notch security system at your house, but no escape route or emergency plan if a fire breaks out.
Oh, okay.
And Irina's article really highlights how the CCRP certification is designed to address this,
Okay, yeah.
this blind spot.
So one of the things that she pointed out is how CCRP training focuses on aligning incident response with disaster recovery plans.
Right.
So I'm guessing that's a big part of bridging that gap.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. You have your security operations center, your cyber defenders, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your business continuity team,
Yep.
the folks who keep the lights on, so to speak.
Gotcha.
CCRP stresses that these two teams need to work together seamlessly
Yeah.
because during an attack, you need both sides of that coin.
Okay.
You need to contain the damage and
Yeah.
you need to keep the business running.
Absolutely. And Irina also brings up this framework called the Sheltered Harbor Standard,
Right.
which I admit sounds pretty niche at first glance.
Yeah, it's really tailored for the financial sector aiming to safeguard critical customer data during major disruptions.
Okay.
But the core principles behind it are universally applicable.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Data protection, recovery, and overall resilience that's critical for any organization that relies on data, which is pretty much everyone these days.
Yeah, true. So she specifically mentions data vaulting as a key component of Sheltered Harbor compliance and overall resilience.
Right.
What exactly does that involve?
Well, it's not your typical backup system.
Okay.
Data vaulting creates this super secure, read-only copy of your most crucial data, which is completely isolated from your operational systems.
Okay.
Imagine it as this separate, fortified vault where your most valuable information is stored.
Wow.
So even if your main systems are compromised, like in a ransomware attack,
Yeah.
that vaulted data remains safe and sound.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does CCRP actually help organizations achieve that level of data protection and recovery?
Right.
Is it just about technical skills?
It goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Irina's article emphasizes that CCRP training doesn't just teach you how to use tools, but why they matter in the context of business resilience.
So it's about connecting the dots between the technical solutions and the bigger picture of business impact.
Exactly. And a big part of that is understanding metrics like MTTD and MTTR,
Okay.
which are mean time to detect and mean time to respond. These are key indicators of how quickly an organization can identify and contain a cyber attack.
Yeah.
The faster you are on both fronts, the less damage you'll suffer.
Okay. I get the importance of speed, but those acronyms can be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you break down what they really mean in practical terms?
Imagine your system gets hit with ransomware.
Okay.
Every minute that ticks by without detection means more data is being encrypted,
Right.
potentially lost forever. So MTTD is about how quickly you can spot those warning signs,
Okay.
while MTTR measures how fast you can contain the damage and get back on your feet.
So in a ransomware situation, a CCRP-trained team would theoretically be able to detect that intrusion much earlier and isolate the affected systems before it spreads.
That's the idea. They would have the skills and the processes in place to respond swiftly and effectively,
Yeah.
minimizing the impact on the organization.
Wow.
It's the difference between a minor inconvenience and a full-blown disaster.
It's like that old saying, time is money. But in this case, it's also data, reputation, and potentially your entire business.
It really is.
Wow.
And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of CCRP, that Irina highlights the importance of leadership.
That makes sense because even with the best tech and plans in place, you still need someone to make the right calls under pressure.
Precisely. CCRP doesn't just focus on technical skills, it fosters resilience-focused leadership.
What does that kind of leadership look like in the midst of a cyber attack?
Yeah.
What separates a CCRP-trained leader from someone who just wings it?
During a cyber attack, things can get chaotic fast.
Right.
You're dealing with a rapidly evolving situation, potentially conflicting information, and immense pressure to make the right call.
So we've talked about how CCRP can help build this culture of cyber resilience.
Right.
But I'm curious to see how it would actually play out in a real-world situation.
Well, let's imagine a company.
Okay.
We'll call them Acme Widgets.
Okay.
They handle sensitive customer data, financial records, proprietary designs.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards.
Now, let's say they get hit with a sophisticated phishing attack.
Mm-hmm.
Without a strong cyber resilience framework, things could easily spiral out of control.
Absolutely.
We're talking like panic,
Right.
confusion, systems going down, data potentially leaking out.
Yeah, a complete nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
But with a CCRP-trained team leading the charge, the outcome would be drastically different.
Okay.
Remember those metrics we discussed?
Yeah, the MTTD and MTTR.
MTTD and MTTR, this is where they become absolutely crucial.
So the CCRP team is like on high alert,
Yeah.
ready to jump into action.
It's more than just being on alert.
Okay.
They've drilled for these scenarios. So they have a well-defined incident response plan
Yeah, okay.
and clear communication channels already in place.
Gotcha.
Let's say their security information and event management system, or SIM, flags some suspicious activity,
Okay.
like multiple failed login attempts from an unusual IP address, for example.
Okay.
Because they've implemented advanced threat detection tools and processes as part of their CCRP training, that red flag immediately catches their attention.
Okay, so they've detected the potential threat.
Right.
What happens next?
Well,
This is where that MTTR, the mean time to respond, really comes into play. Right?
exactly. The CCRP team springs into action following their pre-established incident response plan.
Okay.
They isolate the affected systems to prevent the threat from spreading. They analyze the attack vectors to understand exactly what they're dealing with. They gather evidence for forensic analysis later on, and they start working to contain the breach.
So it's like a coordinated, well-rehearsed response.
Yeah.
Rather than everyone running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
That's the key. And because they've also integrated their cybersecurity efforts with their business continuity planning.
Right.
Another crucial aspect of CCRP, the impact on Acme Widget's actual operations is minimized.
I'm not sure I follow.
Okay.
How does business continuity planning actually factor into responding to a cyber attack?
Remember, business continuity is all about keeping the essential functions of the organization running, even in the face of major disruptions.
Yeah.
So while the cybersecurity team is busy neutralizing the threat,
Right.
the business continuity team is simultaneously working to ensure minimal disruption to critical operations.
Okay.
They might activate backup systems, reroute traffic, or communicate proactively with customers and stakeholders to keep them informed.
So it's like a two-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Contain the immediate threat, but at the same time, keep the business afloat.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this coordinated response is only possible because they've invested in CCRP and built that bridge between cybersecurity and business continuity.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's say even with this quick response, some data has been compromised.
Okay.
How does CCRP address that?
That's where data vaulting comes into play.
Right.
Because Acme Widgets has implemented a robust data vaulting solution. Their most critical data is safe and sound, completely isolated from the compromised systems.
So even if the attackers manage to encrypt or steal some data, Acme Widgets still has a clean, uncorrupted backup to restore from.
Exactly. This means they can get their operations back up and running much faster and with minimal data loss.
Wow.
Instead of facing weeks or even months of downtime and potentially crippling financial losses,
Right.
they're back in business in a fraction of the time.
So they not only survive the attack,
Yeah.
they recover quickly and minimize the damage.
Right.
That's pretty impressive. But it's not just about the technical solutions, right?
No.
There's also the human factor to consider.
Absolutely.
A cyber attack can be incredibly stressful and chaotic for everyone involved.
Absolutely. That's why the leadership aspect of CCRP is so vital.
What?
It's not just about having a plan on paper.
Yeah.
It's about having leaders who can calmly and effectively execute that plan under immense pressure.
Okay, so in our Acme Widgets scenario,
Yeah.
what would a CCRP trained leader actually be doing during the attack?
Yeah.
What sets them apart from someone who's just trying to wing it?
A CCRP-trained leader would be able to maintain a clear head and make those tough, split-second decisions that are often needed during a cyber attack.
Okay.
They would be skilled at communicating effectively with both their internal team and external stakeholders, keeping everyone informed and on the same page.
So it's about staying calm under fire,
Right.
making sound decisions,
Yeah.
and ensuring clear communication throughout the incident.
Exactly. They'd also be able to draw on their CCRP training to understand the bigger picture,
Okay.
the potential business impact of the attack, and guide their team towards the most effective recovery strategy.
That kind of leadership can make all the difference between a contained incident and a full-blown catastrophe.
Absolutely.
It's almost like having a captain who can steer the ship through a storm.
It's a great analogy, and it highlights another crucial element of CCRP leadership:
Okay, what's that?
the ability to not just react to an attack,
Okay.
but to proactively learn from it and improve your organization's security posture for the future.
So it's about turning a potential disaster into an opportunity to become even more resilient.
Precisely, a CCRP-trained leader would see this attack as a chance to assess what worked, what didn't, and how they can refine their processes and strengthen their defenses for the next time. Because let's face it,
Yeah.
in today's world, it's not a matter of if you'll be targeted,
Right.
but when.
It sounds like CCRP is about so much more than just checking boxes or getting a certification.
Yeah,
It's about fostering a whole new mindset within an organization,
right.
from the technical experts to the leadership team.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about embedding cyber resilience into the very DNA of the organization,
Wow.
making it a core part of how they operate and make decisions.
And that's a powerful concept, because when you have that kind of resilience,
Absolutely.
you're not just surviving attacks.
Right.
You're using them to become stronger and more adaptable.
Absolutely. You're turning a potential weakness into a strategic advantage.
This has been a fascinating look at how CCRP can actually translate into real-world results.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see some concrete examples of organizations that have successfully implemented these principles.
Well, luckily, there are some pretty compelling case studies out there that demonstrate just how powerful CCRP can be in practice.
Awesome.
We'll delve into those right after a quick break.
So welcome back.
It's great to be back.
We've talked a lot about the theory and the potential of CCRP, but I'm always eager to see how these concepts actually play out in the real world.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of organizations that have embraced CCRP and seen tangible benefits?
Absolutely. There are some really compelling case studies that show just how impactful CCRP can be when it's put into practice.
I'm all ears. Let's hear a real-world success story.
All right, let's look at a financial institution. We'll call them Global Bank.
Okay.
They were under a lot of pressure to up their cyber resilience game, especially with the constantly evolving regulations
Right.
and the increasing sophistication of cyber attacks.
Yeah, I bet a lot of organizations can relate to that pressure.
You're right. Well, Global Bank decided to fully commit to CCRP.
Okay.
They invested in training their key personnel, and not just within their IT department.
Okay.
They included folks from risk management, compliance, even legal.
That's interesting. It really underscores that holistic approach we've been talking about.
Right.
Cyber resilience isn't just an IT issue. It's something that affects the entire organization.
Exactly. Global Bank got their team CCRP certified and started implementing the framework,
Okay.
building those bridges between cybersecurity and business continuity. And guess what? It paid off big time.
Okay, spill the beans. What kind of results did they see?
Well, for starters, their mean time to detect threats, that's the MTTD, went down significantly.
Okay.
They were able to spot and neutralize potential attacks much faster before they could really cause any damage.
That's a big win. We've talked about how crucial speed is, but
Yeah.
seeing those results in a real-world scenario is really impressive.
It is. And their mean time to respond to MTTR also saw a major improvement
Okay.
because they had a well-rehearsed incident response plan in place. When an incident did occur, they were able to contain it quickly and minimize the impact.
So they went from playing catch-up to being proactive and prepared. Instead of scrambling to put out fires, they were ready to handle whatever came their way.
That's the power of CCRP. And here's the really interesting part. Global Bank actually went through a real trial by fire. They experienced a major cyber attack,
No.
a sophisticated ransomware attempt that could have crippled their operations.
Wow, so this wasn't just a theoretical exercise. They faced a real-world test what happened.
Because of their CCRP training, they were ready. They were able to swiftly isolate the affected systems, prevent the ransomware from spreading, and restore their operations from their secure data vaults.
So they didn't just weather the storm, they bounced back incredibly fast.
Yeah.
That's a powerful testament to what CCRP can achieve.
It really is, and the best part is, Global Bank emerged from that experience even stronger than before. They learned some invaluable lessons, refined their processes, and further strengthened their overall cyber resilience posture.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but in this case, it's what doesn't kill your data makes your organization stronger.
I love that, and that's really the key takeaway here. CCRP isn't just about ticking boxes or complying with regulations, it's about cultivating a culture of resilience.
Right.
A mindset that embraces challenges and uses them as opportunities for growth.
It's about accepting that cyber attacks are inevitable and being prepared to face them head on.
Precisely. And it's about understanding that cyber resilience is a continuous journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and evolving to stay ahead of the ever-changing threat landscape.
You've painted a very compelling picture of CCRP. It's clear that it's not just a buzzword, it's a framework with a real-world impact for organizations of all sizes and industries.
Absolutely. And the good news is it's never too late to start building that cyber resilience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into CCRP, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
As you reflect on everything we've discussed, consider this. What's one concrete step your organization can take today to boost its cyber resilience, whether or not you decide to pursue CCRP certification?
Okay.
It could be as simple as having a conversation about your incident response plan, reviewing your data backup procedures, or even just raising awareness about the dangers of phishing attacks.
Yeah.
Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to a more secure and resilient future.
That's a great point to end on. It's been an insightful journey exploring the world of CCRP and cyber resilience. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.